Hello and welcome to Tree of Statism. Today we will be talking about another ideology. The reason we want to discuss ideologies is because they affect the state. The ruling idea affects the rulers. However, why do ideologies become popular? One of the main reasons is that ideologies reflect reality. The more problems or the more central the problem that this ideology tries to solve, the more people may adopt it. However, if an ideology exists and it does not relate in any way to real problems in society, people will just abandon it. They will adopt a different ideology, one that is going to address their problems. Often, competing ideologies are ideologies that face the same reality from multiple directions. That is to say, that each of them faces a different problem that exists at the same time. Sometimes they solve it from different angles, or they solve it in different ways because different groups want it to be solved in different ways. This series is going to be discussing a bunch of ideologies. This episode is going to be talking about one specifically. However, we want to talk about these ideologies in order to try to understand and try to estimate why it is these ideologies are popular, what are their advantages, and what are their disadvantages. Hello and welcome back to Tree of Statism. Today we want to talk about an ideology called fascism. It swept through Europe in the 20th century, and many people know of it. However, they don't fully understand it. Historians often try to describe it by describing the different features. They say it's sexist, it's militaristic, but they don't kind of explain the underlying logic and the kind of central idea of it that leads to all these different features. This is kind of like seeing a bunch of trees but not understanding the forest and how it works. And this is something we want to explain today. It's important to mention that history does not repeat itself. However, similar problems create similar behaviors. That's why history kind of rhymes. It does not repeat, but it is similar to itself. In fascism, the group is the supreme good. Now, the group can be a tribe, a race, a country. We're going to call it the group or the state. However, it is not always the same. In this group, the individual exists to serve the state. The state is not there to serve the individual. Now, the individual gains value the more it is valuable to the group, the more it is valuable to the state. That is to say, the more you serve, the more you are valuable. However, you are still disposable. If your death is valuable or can create value, then you should die in battle or you should die to save the homeland. Your death serves the group. The fascist state is always militaristic. It's going to try to encourage people to join the army or to be okay with being in the army. The army is always glorified. You're not allowed to talk about the army as anything but brave young men doing their jobs. You can never talk about them being whoremongers or rude or sexist or nothing of that sort. They're always in great uniforms. They're always glorified. War is also romanticized. That is to say, they talk about conquering a position, they talk about heroics, they never talk about massive death tolls, they never talk about mass graves, they never talk about all the injured people. They talk about how glorious war is and how it is a kind of romantic concept that we want to rush out into battle to fight for the state. And the enemy is always villainized. Now, the enemy can be internal or external. This can be the enemy state, like Germany against Russia or Italy against France, or it can be internal. We did see the Germans turn on the Jews and the Gypsies and the gays and all the groups that weren't serving all these subgroups that weren't serving the group. Anyone who talks against these issues, these militarized issues, in the wrong way, is going to become a traitor and is going to be ostracized and punished. Religion is great if it can promote the state. However, if the religion limits the state, the fascist society may try to ban it, whatever serves the state. Sexism is usually rampant in fascist communities. However, there is a reason for this. Men are valued as three things. They are valued as fathers, as workers, and as soldiers. Men are valued more as fathers in a household than as biological father. However, raising the birth rates is also good. However, we would prefer that you not only have children, but rather raise them into good servants of the state. Women are seen as defective men. They are valued as mothers, which is the equivalent to fathers, but they're not that good workers because they can't do too much manual labor, and they're not good soldiers. At least they weren't in the past. If we see fascism again in the future, we may see that women are more equal because in the future women may be more capable of doing work, especially since there's more office work, and they may be better soldiers with the mechanization of warfare. That is to say, a woman can be a good fighter pilot. She's going to have a harder time in the infantry because she can't carry a lot of equipment. She can be a great tank driver. She can drive a truck very well. She can do logistics. She can do the paperwork. She can do a bunch of things that are more mechanized and less about the soldier carrying stuff onto the field. Romantic relationships must serve the state. That is to say, families are usually promoted, and anything that produces babies is promoted because the state wants babies that will grow into children and then into adults that will be the next generations of people in the group serving the group. Relations that don't lead to children are frowned upon. For a bunch of This includes a bunch of different behaviors. The key one is the LGBT community. However, a bunch of other types of affairs that don't lead to children are also frowned upon. Extramarital affairs are kind of a gray area. They do raise the birth rates, but the society prefers families that produce good children over just being biological fathers. However, because fascism is also militarized, and this will lead to dead men and an imbalance between men and women, there's going to be more women than there are men. This may lead to approval of extramarital affairs so that women without a husband can still have children, or to approving of second wives and concubines or whatever you're going to call them, so that you can kind of have more than one marriage and all the women can be producing children. Historians also often do not describe the attitude towards intelligentsia correctly. Fascism very much loves practical intelligentsia that have a clear purpose in society. They love doctors, they love engineers. They have a disdain for intelligentsia that has philosophical debates that are detached from reality, are not directly related to reality. They don't have a direct purpose, and the human arts are usually either propaganda or banned. Philosophers that talk about anything that is not approved by the state are usually banned by the state in a fascist society. Related to time, fascism usually doesn't like the present. It always wants to improve society and quickly. These changes often include looking at the past. They want to remember some kind of agrarian past or some kind of glory days in the past. When you look at the Nazi Party, for example, they have a lot of icons from the Holy Roman Empire and from the Roman Empire, and they want to return to some kind of great glory of the past that they think is was lost for the wrong reasons. However, the past may not be as functional as people remember it. Sometimes societies change for a reason, and changing back is not a good thing. They also talk a lot about the future. They want to plan for the future. They want to make the future great and glorious. The present is usually disdained and should be changed. Another thing that is usually not understood correctly by a lot of people is that in fascism, the economy serves the state. It can be communist, it can be capitalist, it can be mercantilist. Whatever theory serves the state best is what is taken. If the government thinks that communism is good, it may adopt it. Or if it thinks it can gain more by capitalism, by free trade, by having commerce, and the government just collecting taxes, then it will do that. It often goes into mercantilism, where it tries to encourage its own industries with kind of tariffs on foreign goods. However, whatever the economic theory says will produce good outcomes, that is what they want. They want the economy to serve the state. Money is never a metric. High GDP is never a metric if it is at the cost of some kind of great and evil immorality. The economy serves the grand purpose, not the other way around. Business owners are often suppressed and their businesses are nationalized when it suits the government, and the government can gain things from taking those businesses. And labor is often suppressed if labor unions are getting in the way of the government doing what it wants to do. It doesn't really look at these classes as, good rich people or good poor people, but rather as serving the state and not serving the state. Fascism usually wants to take over the state and to use the tools of the state. However, when it is in a minority, they very much like anarchist activism and the use of violence to gain power. That is to say, that an immoral government doesn't have authority and they want to replace it with a moral government, or what they see as a moral government. Now, an immoral government could be one that, has minority rights, has gay rights, has immigration or some kind of thing that they see as immoral, and cooperating with an immoral government is just not something they want to do. However, once they are in power, they are very much law and order, when it is their laws and their order. Liberalism and libertarianism are one extreme and the opposite of fascism. They only value individualism. Fascism is the other extreme. It only values group rights and the group. In most societies, there is some kind of balance between group rights and individual rights because you serve the group through taxes and conscription so that the state can serve you through benefits. If you have not been listening up until now, now is the most important time to listen because history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. And when looking at the future, you need to understand. Fascism rises in weak societies. It rises because they desire to become big and strong. It doesn't necessarily make them big and strong, it can make them weak. However, they want to be bigger and stronger than they are now. They feel weak and oppressed. Strong countries usually don't turn into fascism because people are more concerned about their slice of the pie rather than the group rising out of the mud. In Italy and Germany, we're talking about times where it rose because of economic depression in the 30s. In Soviet Russia, there was a kind of communist fascism led by Stalin. It rose because Stalin was constantly afraid of revolutionaries. They had a very big revolution. It worked, and he was concerned that more civil wars would lead Russia back into some kind of defective form. Um, Often these groups, these weak groups that want to be strong, have been trampled in the past in one form or another, and in the future they will be okay with trampling other groups. They feel that when you were strong, you stepped on them, and now that they are strong, you don't have a moral reason to demand they don't step on you back. Now it's just the wheel has turned, and now Instead of wearing the boot, you are under the boot. The boot was always there. We just switched roles. If you like this video about this ideology, please tell us what other ideology you would like us to discuss. Maybe, just maybe, we might discuss it. If you like this video, please comment, upvote, and subscribe. If you want to help further, go and watch my other videos. And if you like them as well, do the same over there. Also, please share this video and any other video you might think people might take interest in. If you want to support me further, you can buy my book on Amazon, Ancapistan by Noah Goodman. Thank you for watching, and good night.